pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilmember Irby? Here. Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Wassinger? Here. Councilmember Gray?
Present.
Councilmember Dolan?
Here.
Councilmember Tracus?
I'm sorry, present.
Councilmember Harder?
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
I move to approval of the journal of the meeting of December 4th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The journal is approved. We have no bid openings this evening, so we'll move to communications.
Mr. Chair, we have no tax compromises or zoning matters this evening, so we'll move to road and bridge matters. Under road and bridge matters, item number 1, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the street be accepted for maintenance as requested, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to other communications, Mr. Chair. Item number 1.
Receive and file, and that will be the order. Item number 2 will hold on the order of business, and that will be the order.
Item number 3.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 5.
Item number 6, 5th District.
Receive, file, and county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 7, 1st District.
Please hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 8, 1st District.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Item number 9, 1st District.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Item number 10, 1st District.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Item number 11, 1st District.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Item number 12, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 13, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and the change of corporate structure be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to the add-ons, Mr. Chair.
Please read the item.
Under other communications, item number 1, 4th District.
Receive, file, and refer to the Planning Commission.
So ordered.
Item number 2, 7th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 3, receive and file. I'm sorry, item number 3. Sorry. Trying to make things move along.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 4, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered. So ordered.
Item number 5, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, please.
So ordered.
Item number 6, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 7, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 8. That will be the order.
And item number 9, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered. Report of the county executive. No report. Report of special committee.
Please hold on the order of business.
So ordered. Public forum.
We have 18 speakers this evening, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. When your name is called, please approach the podium. Give your name and address for the record. please adjust the microphone so we can catch your comments in the recording, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes per speaker.
First speaker this evening is Diane Perry. She will be followed by Faye Snow.
Good evening. I'm here because of the cuts that you want to do in the budget. I think those cuts should have been started years ago because it's going to affect North County. And since the white flight happened, there's really no income in North County like it used to be. So I think you all need to reconsider, let the citizens in North County come and have their say, because it's going to affect them. North St. Louis County never was that black before. I was raised here in St. Louis County. Matter of fact, in Webster Groves, born here in Clayton. But I really think you all need to reconsider, because if you're going to do those type of cuts, you should have started a long time ago. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Faye Snow, followed by Milton Green.
Good evening. My name is Faye Snow, and as the Human Resources Director of the 21st Circuit Court, it is with deep sincerity that I report to you that we have some of the absolute best employees of St. Louis County. My concern, however, is that these employees are choosing to leave the court with the primary reason being that compensation has not increased with the market rate. As of October of this year, turnover rate for the family court and juvenile office was at an all-time high of 31 separations. Since then, the number has continued to climb. Of the data collected from exit interviews, the most frequently reported reason for leaving was lack of pay raises. As a result of new and seasonal professionals choosing to leave the family court and the juvenile office in 2018, we said farewell to a collective number of 363 years of service, experience, and knowledge. Some separations are anticipated as certain staff are ready to retire. However, in the past, there were several examples of staff who would be eligible for retirement and opted to stay at the court to continue to work while contributing more towards their pension. It saddens me to report that instead of staying with the court longer, retirement-eligible staff are retiring and seeking work elsewhere in a similar field in order to compensate their pensions because staying with the county is not their best financial interest. In addition, we have seen new employees stay for shorter and shorter periods of time. This trend has put significant hardship on managers responsible for training new staff because several hours goes into the training of the new employees. For example, training for a deputy juvenile officer lasts for at least or better than a year because of the nature of the work. Training a new employee is a huge investment. To have these employees be trained only to leave after a year or two is unfortunately becoming more common. In regards to recruitment and filling the aforementioned vacancies, we are losing out on qualified, talented candidates because we are unable to offer or negotiate competitive salaries. When we have made a selection and the candidates decline the offer because of compensation, we end up spending more time, more money, repeating the selection and hiring process. As a result, our current employees are carrying inflated caseloads because the vacancies remain vacant. When conducting stay interviews, several employees report that although they're not being compensated at the market rate, they stay with the courts because they believe in what the organization is all about, supporting the families of St. Louis County. However, while their hearts are in the right places, when conducting exit interviews, it is clear that heart does not financially support their own family.
That's 3 minutes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Milton Green, followed by Michael Creighton.
Good evening to you all. My name is Milton Green. I've been a deputy sheriff here, a bailiff for 2 years. And although I've enjoyed working here, and I thank God for every minute of it, for 2 years I have not missed a day coming here. I come here every day, go home every evening. Sometimes the evenings are late. But my concern is that it was some people that started off with me with good officers. We all came from the streets and we all did a good job there, and we come here to do a good job. This is one of the greatest places in this county, but yet we have the lowest pay. And I'm here for the pay increase and the raises that we need at the St. Louis County Sheriff Department, along with the county workers. It would be nice and intent if we have that, because we're losing people to go to second jobs after they leave here. They can't get it. They have to get another job to make ends meet. They have to do everything they have to do to make it in for their families. We're losing good people, and I think it ought to be aware of it, that we have people that come in, trained, and good officers, but we lose them to other counties, to other bailiff places, who are the lowest paid, but yet we're the greatest. And I say to you, in the 2 years that I've been here, I'd like to stay here and be here and stay here with the county and stay here with the Sheriff Department. So I ask you to please look at this and just give us our raise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Michael Creighton, followed by Bob James.
Good evening. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening on behalf of the St. Louis County Family Court. My name is Michael Creighton. I reside in Florissant, Missouri. I've been employed by the Family Court of St. Louis County for 28 years. I started working for the court when I was 23 years old, and at that time I was one of the youngest, or the youngest person working in the court in 1999. I've worked in the court payback program as the work crew supervisor and as a case manager. I worked as a DJO in the North County area, the Hazelwood and Riverview school districts, for 25 years. I've been a part of the management team at the St. Louis County Family Court for just over a year. As mentioned in prior weeks, the court has struggled to retain qualified hard working staff for the past years due to the current pay scale and lack of pay raises since 2008. Most staff leave the court for better paying opportunities. I have seen many staff work 2 jobs just to financially get by. My wife, a former St. Louis County employee, quit her job in May of 2017 due to a lack of merit and pay raises. When she left her position, she was extremely happy and said she would never work again for a place that didn't put their workers first. I've noticed an overall change in morale at the court due to complaints of increased caseloads and with no additional compensation. We are required to go above and beyond the call of duty to provide services for clients we serve, but how can we continue to work this way when every year, due to increase of cost of living and inflation, our paychecks we bring home are less and less every year? Everything seems to be increasing, such as utilities, food, health care, but not our salaries. The family court used to be a fun place to work, but due to high turnover rate, it is now difficult to maintain a working relationship with coworkers. If we can't maintain a positive relationship with coworkers due to staff leaving, how can we engage and have a working relationship with the clients we serve? I was asked by my bank teller today, where did I work? I said at the family court. She asked, what do you do? I told her I was a DJO. She asked, what is that? I explained to her that I was a deputy juvenile officer and I work with youth in St. Louis County who commit offenses from truancy to murder. She said, wow. She said, you must care a lot about kids, because she couldn't and she wouldn't do that job. I told her, I do care about the young people and their families that I serve. That's why I'm a DJO. So I'm asking that you accept the proposed budget submitted by the St. Louis County Circuit Court for Prop P funds so that people like me can continue to do the work that we do and get adequately compensated for our hard work. Thank you. But one more thing, I would like to acknowledge and thank all the employees of St. Louis County for the hard and dedicated work that we do every day.
Next speaker is Bob James, followed by Ellie Hoffman.
My name is Bob James. I have been the counselor in the Juvenile Detention Center. This is going on my 14th year. I got caught up in the mission of caring for the most difficult kids that are in St. Louis County. I've worked with some of the best people I've ever met as an employee there. Our job is to maintain the mental health and well-being and security and safety to the kids in our custody. We provide services to them and their families in hopes that they never come back to the detention center again. My experience is as a school counselor. As a school counselor, I would probably make $20,000 to $25,000 more than I make as a counselor in the detention center. I'm one of a handful of counselors in the St. Louis area who choose to work with these types of kids with these kinds of difficulties. I try to provide the best possible treatment for the kids that need it the most. My friends and family know that this is my passion, my life's work. I work in family and clinical services, but I'm housed in the detention center, and I have a bird's eye view of the center as a whole. Without these vital services, most of these kids would end up in prison. These are difficult clients. Learning this work takes years of experience. These are difficult times in detention. We are not retaining detention employees. They are leaving. They go to special school district, public school districts, and customer service boards. Apparently, it pays to be able to work with anybody. I'd like the council to know that with them leaves years of vital experience. The long-term collective experience of these people leave, and lessons that they've learned over 20, 30, and even 40 years leave with them. This can't be bought. It has to be grown. No one can just step into a position in the detention center and be able to do an effective job. Without those people to train the new people, we lose vital services. To do this, you must retain and have a robust full-time staff as well as an on-call staff. Our on-call staff is depleted. Our older staff continue to leave. This is the heart of our detention center. Imagine for a moment that your loved one was in detention. You would want a seasoned, well-trained, diverse, and robust group of people to work with your loved one. The stakes are the lives and futures of these children. The men and women in detention work more than one job to make ends meet. Some work two. I work another position. The most seasoned employee, he cuts grass after he's done working. 7 months a year. We use our own resources. We pay for some of our own training. There is no more room to tighten our belts. Help us develop a healthy, long-term workforce to work with our most desperate, most underserved population in this entire county. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ella Hoffman, followed by Myles Hoffman.
Hello. Hello, my name is Erica Hoffman, E-R-I-C-A-H-O-F-F-M-A-N. I live at 564 Oakwood Drive, Fenton, Missouri. That's located in southwest St. Louis County. I'm here today to speak in support of Bill 270. This bill would prohibit anyone under the age of 18 from possessing an electronic smoking device on school grounds. As a mom of a teen son and also as a community leader who serves as the PTO president of a large middle school, along with being the vice president of the Step Up board, I'm very involved in trying to help keep our youth safe and future focused. My goal is to see not only my child, but all the children in our community grow up to be successful adults. Step Up is working very hard to help prevent a new generation of youth from becoming addicted to nicotine for life because of vaping and Juul. Bill 270 will not only help to keep electronic smoking devices out of the hands of youth, but can also provide education services for those who are repeat users. I hope you will support Step Up's efforts to help keep our community safe by voting yes on the proposed amendment. Our children and the community need your support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Myles Hoffman, followed by Tim Day.
Hello, my name is Myles Hoffman, and I'm an 8th grader at Sparing Middle School. I'm here today to ask for support in the amendment that would prohibit anyone under the age of 18 possessing an electronic smoking device on school property. These smoking devices, otherwise known as like Juuls and vapes, were introduced to adults as a way to help them quit smoking, but have actually become a way for kids to start smoking or other drugs. They think of it as just something that you can't some think that there's no danger in it at all and that it's literally just water and flavoring. But there are hundreds of chemicals in the solution that's vaporized and then inhaled into the lungs, causing major damage and like puffing up of the internal organs, which can restrict airflow and affect the lungs in harmful ways. Thank you.
Myles,
Thank you,
before you
Myles.
go, I have a question for you. At Sparing, do you witness students using these devices?
I haven't witnessed anyone, but I've heard of several accounts of kids. There have been several accounts of kids getting suspended for it. I've heard of kids using them, just, smelled some stuff in a hallway once. But
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tim Day, followed by Gloria Moniz.
My name is Tim Day. I live in 7329 Nottingham, 63119. I'm here to talk about Tower T. It's now been 5 months since Tower T was shut down, and it's been, I think, 13 months since the original rezoning hearing was postponed. And you'll notice we're still here. We're still coming back every month to speak on this because this affects our quality of life. This is a place that kids go to learn how to play. This is a place that adults go for that vital outdoor recreation. And this is, if this were being done properly, there would have been a public hearing on this. There would have been outreach. There would have been engagement with the community. We haven't had any of that. This is our only outlet to speak on it, and that's why we keep coming back here. I'm hopeful that in, the new year, when there's some turnover in the county council, that we'll have some movement on this. I don't know what the developers are waiting on. I don't know what the landowner is thinking. While all this time they could be making money on that land, they're just letting it sit there idle. But, if this were done right, there would be a proposal. There would have been a proposal while it was still open. We would have weighed the pros and cons, and there would have been a decision. And the people that are elected to represent us would have engaged. But we didn't get that. And some of you guys won't be back next year, I think, because of it. And I just think going forward, there needs to be positive engagement between the council and the residents on rezoning matters like this. And I think in this case, while there might be more money to be made with property taxes, maybe turning it into housing, there might be more bottom line money to be made. There still can be money made on that land, and it's not in the best interests of the residents to see it rezoned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Gloria Moniz, followed by Karen Weeks, or Week.
My name is Gloria Moniz, and I'm a resident of St. Louis County. I have been employed with the Sheriff's Office since 1997. I work a part-time job that I currently have had for over 11 years. Prior to that, I worked another part-time job for over 4 years. I can tell you that working 2 jobs does interfere with social engagements, family time, and just time to relax and unwind. It is very draining when you get off from your day job and you have to be at your night job in less than an hour. I can only reiterate what was previously stated about time missed with your family and friends because of lack of free time. It is disheartening to never get a raise. As anyone knows, everything is becoming more costly, but our wages have stayed the same for many years. I hope you would take us into consideration for an increase in our pay when you vote. I just wanted to make a brief statement in solidarity with our office and ask that you would consider us for the Prop P funds. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight.
Next speaker is Karen Week, followed by Michael Burton.
Hello, my name is Karen Weeke, and I work for the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office as a court peace officer. First and foremost, I would like to thank the council members for their time tonight. My position as a court peace officer requires me to be post-certified and to keep that certification up to date by attending at least 24 hours of continuing education training every year. The post-certification is required in order to perform my specialized duties. These duties consist of executing court-ordered 96-hour detention warrants on alleged mentally incompetent individuals by taking them into custody and transporting them to a local hospital. These are potentially dangerous situations we walk into, not knowing what might take place. For example, just 2 weeks ago, I received a court order to take an individual into custody and transport said individual to a hospital, but was unable to because that individual was not at their residence. The next evening, that same individual flourished a gun at a group of children. Once police arrived on scene, that individual barricaded himself into a residence, which resulted in the county police tactical unit being called. Due to the nature of these court orders, we never know what we could be faced with. Over the 12.5 years I've been with the Sheriff's Office, I've seen large numbers of my coworkers leave to go to higher paying jobs. This is due to our low pay compared to other departments and the fact we have not had no raises for several years. This has also led to extra workloads due to being understaffed because we cannot fill open positions due to the low pay and working conditions. I know if I was not married, I would most likely be living with relatives because I would not be able to pay for health benefits, a roof over my head, and normal everyday living expenses, and that's without children. I would most likely be working a second job just to make ends meet. I feel the lack of raises and lower salaries over the years has affected employee morale and work ethic, resulting in low work performance, which in turn has caused a high turnover rate. If raises are not implemented, the turnover rate will only increase, and it will only get harder to find qualified applicants to fill empty positions. Please implement the initiative to utilize Prop P funds to increase salaries of Department of Judicial Administration employees. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Michael Burton, followed by Denise Speier.
Hey y'all, Michael Burton here. Good to see you. It's been 364 days since the first time you had to look at this ugly mug. And can you believe it? We still don't have a dang proposal. It's crazy. Okay. So these words have never come out of my mouth or anyone who has spoken about Tower T, but you still might recognize the majority of them. One of you for sure will. I'm a resident of District 5. I'm here to speak in opposition of the rezoning of a housing development on Higgy Road. Many citizens of District 5 have already voiced serious and well-founded opposition to this proposal. This past year, well over 100 people appeared here, and many have spoken in opposition to it. Since that time, hundreds of people have signed petitions that you will receive as you consider this report. The issue you need to look at is the invoice serious problems with the zoning at this location. In addition, the traffic concerns merit close inspection. All of these objections have been voiced at these meetings, and I'm sure you will continue to hear them. But just as important is the nature and character of the area and neighborhoods abutting this property, this proposed housing development. Those citizens have vested interest in the right to continue enjoyment of the neighborhood they have cultivated and nurtured over decades. This proposed complex will fundamentally change the very nature of their neighborhood. Councilman Dolan and all of the members of the council, your citizens, your residents, your constituents have all spoken overwhelmingly in opposition of this project. I urge you, indeed, I challenge all of you to lead this body in a serious and comprehensive inspection of this proposal, leading to a vote and rejecting this proposal and denying the rezoning request. Many of those words are from the councilman of District 6. A couple things real quick. This guy right here, I showed you a picture of him. He's here. He's right over there. The artist of Tower T. And I want to leave you with just one quick thing. I think I have the time. These are the words of George Bush at his father's funeral. Kind of stood out to me. We cannot hope only to leave our children a bigger car, a bigger bank account. We must hope to give them a sense of what it means to be a loyal friend, a loving parent, a citizen who leaves his home, his neighborhood, and town better than he found it. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Councilwoman Wassinger, thank you for your service, and best of luck to you. You as well, Councilman Dolan. Thank you.
Next speaker is Denise Speier, followed by Debbie Bissell.
Good evening again. I'm Denise Speier, and a St. Louis County resident for 16 years and a county employee for the last 10 years. Last week, I asked the question, when is St. Louis County government going to embrace a policy of employee retention versus employee recruitment? Councilwoman Gray made a statement about having hearings in order to get data, and I decided to come today with data. Though it is actually very narrow data. My address is 4000 Jennings Station Road, St. Louis, Missouri 63121. I'm going to share today the salaries that were posted in the Post-Dispatch July 2018 for the nurse practitioners and the physician assistants that work at St. Louis County. There are 8 of us that I am aware of based on that and based on my practice. The highest paid person in our group is making just below $95,000. He has served the county 1 year and 7 months. The next highest paid person in the county is also male and came in at $90,000 1 year and 6 months ago. The third is the longest serving physician assistant in the department. His current salary was $86,900 and has served 14 years, 3 months with the implementation of Prop P funding. He should be right at about $100,000, which is actually where all of us should be based on our education and experiences. And actually, I think he deserves that. So let me just put that in there. The fourth highest paid person is the second longest serving at $86,400. She's served the county 12 years and 5 months, and when Prop P is implemented, she's going to go down below the next employee who has served the county for 1 year and 1 month. The fifth highest was brought in at the current discretionary hire, which is $82,600. She'll be third or fourth from the top with the Prop P funding. I'm next in line. Third in length of service at 10 years, 2 months, and third from the bottom. Last week, I shared that I see more patients than any other provider in the clinics in our pay grade, and in sexual health services this year, we saw more than 9,000 patients, and we still have 2 weeks to go. My salary is currently 3 cents below the discretionary hire for my job. My office colleague is in the busiest clinic again in the system, is second to the bottom at $78,500. She served with St. Louis County for 3 years and 10 months. The least paid has served at 2 years and 10 months, and she makes $78,000. So that means your highest paid mid-level provider is making $100,000 and deserves it, and the least paid is making $78,000. So this is hard data and demonstrates a microcosm of what I now obviously believe has happened throughout St. Louis County without merit-based raises. I know it's representative certainly of what's happened at the Department of Public Health and all of our positions. Isn't it interesting? All the men are at the top, and all the men are all the women are at the bottom. And that's pretty consistent with pay across the nation. We all bring our credentials and education to the Department of Public Health. We are all revenue generators, and yet there's a significant discrepancy in our salaries. So again, I'm asking, when is St. Louis County government going to pursue a policy of retention? And today I would add pay equity. Thank you very much. Does anybody have questions for me?
No, thank you.
Wow, I made it in 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Next speaker. Next speaker is Debbie Bissell, followed by Reina Epson.
Hi, my name is Debbie Bissell. I've been here before. I was one of the ones evicted from Stratford in Fenton, and had no place to go. And so I was placed in a nursing home, which I really don't understand because I'm fully capable of working and doing everything myself. But I was told it was with some kind of program. But I almost feel like I'm in prison, and it's very scary. I've had my blood drawn. I'm not on any medication, but they put me on vitamins. And feel like you can't really come and go too much. And like I said, I'm used to working. I lost a job I was getting ready to start when this happened with Stratford. So now all I have is my Social Security, which they will pretty much take all of it I understand, except for like $50 a month, which you need for toiletries and stuff like that. But it's a pretty scary situation, you know. I don't know why I'm in a nursing home. I could be in an apartment and totally able to do everything myself. But just wanted to keep you updated what was going on, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Reina Epson, followed by Tracy Reese.
Good evening. My name is Reina Epson. I'm an import from Rolla, Missouri. I'm a nonprofit organization that has been down here helping tenants like Ms. Bissell that you've heard of in front of you 3 times. As I sat here today, or just sat here in this little area listening to the people talk about their wages, I feel their pain, and I also feel the pain of tenants and how their wages are being spent. I represent people who are living in substandard rental properties, people who are paying anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month in rent. Some people have holes in their roof. I got people who don't even have heat right now. These people were duped into these properties through deceptive advertisement. They got into these properties, let's say in the summertime, you don't check the heat, but there was no heat. And so now these people are stuck. And they can't move, they're trying to get out, and they have nowhere to go. So as I hear people talk about their money being lessened as it comes in, I feel their pain. But I also feel the pain of the people that I represent, of these tenants that have been duped into all their money going into something that they really get nothing out of, and they get no enjoyment from going through it. And so I'm here today to ask the council if they have any options or anything going on in legislation to help these people, like Ms. Bissell, for instance, when she's going through transitional housing, so she doesn't end up in a nursing home the way that she has. I'm also asking, through the procedures of the county, if we have better building enforcement and codes to ensure that when people are renting these houses, they are not duped into substandard rental properties. It is a serious offense out here. And I believe that if we can get legislation and the proper people on the board to address certain issues as it needs to be, that this can be stopped. And I do feel to hear the pain of everyone talk about their wages. And I see the pain of my people standing in these houses that they can't get out of. Meanwhile, their utility bills is $300 to $500 a month because the windows are leaking or there's a hole in the roof. And so I'm asking everyone here to think about your constituents. Think about the Christmas they're going to have. Think about the Christmas Miss Bissell is going to have, because it's real for a lot of people. And so I just want to say, on behalf of all the tenants out here living in substandard rental properties, they need help. And it will help your economies to get these people living in something that they can actually be productive citizens. And so I just want to put that out there for Christmas, a gift to the communities to start thinking about, for tenants anyway, what can be done to improve the rights of tenants. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tracy Reese, followed by Brian Roush.
Good evening. I'm here with the Rivals Tenant Association. I wanted to make some resolutions and some recommendations that can help some of the tenants make sure that they're treated fairly when they rent these places. One of them, we are asking that any organization that receives tax dollars are held accountable, meaning that if they receive any funding due to do anything to property, they should be held accountable to make sure that if they were given funds to put roofing or windows in, those windows and roofing should be done properly. There should be nothing that should be left undone, and it should be inspected. We are also asking that uniform lease with opportunities for provisions are made. So when tenants realize that they're in a house, when they rented the house in the summertime and when wintertime comes, they realize from the snow that the roof is leaking, they should have provisions. They should be able to get out of that lease, and they should be able to have their funds returned to them, at least their deposits, so they can move someplace else. It's impossible for a tenant to be in a situation where they're living somewhere for 90 days and then they're asked to leave because now the city has, or the county has decided to do their job and evict them because the building is vacant. The building was vacant and it was derelict when the tenant moved into it. Proper procedures need to be established. We're asking that something be established where utility companies have some type of connection with St. Louis County, that when they go in and they inspect these buildings, if there are condemned or there are signs of danger, we're asking that some type of system be established, that the county is aware of it, the property owner becomes aware of it, and also that the tenant becomes aware of it. It does not become the tenant problem to solve broken windows. It does not become the tenant problem to take care of a roofing leak. It does not becomes the tenant problem to have to deal with faulty wire. It is the property owner. We're asking for you guys to step in and to help us make some resolution so that the tenants are treated fairly and that they're treated like citizens. We're asking this lady here, she just gave you an example of what she went through. It's heartbreaking to hear her story, to know that now she's in a nursing home. She has no business being there. She's able to take care of herself. We're asking that this situation does not happen to another tenant because of situations like this. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you spell the name of the organization that you said you...
Rolla Tenant Association.
What is it?
R-O-L-L-A.
Oh, Rolla Tenant Association, okay. Okay, and who put her in the nursing home? Whose decision was that?
I'm not exactly sure. Who, Debbie? I know they made arrangements, provision for her. That was one of the provisions so she can find some place to go. But she complained about they drew her blood without her knowledge. She left and came back, and they have taken blood from her twice.
What are these?
Who put you there?
I was approached by a social worker that was helping out people at Stratford Inn and said something about this program where you go in. I thought it was going to be like an assisted living, not a nursing home, for 90 days. Then the state would help you with a place to, an apartment or someplace permanent, and I felt like I didn't have a choice. And so I still don't really understand the program, and hopefully it's a legit program. I'm hoping, you know.
And it's a state program that says after 90 days they will place you somewhere?
Yes.
How long have you been there now?
A little over a month. Okay. I don't know what 90 days has to do with anything. I'm not really sure. I said I felt like I didn't have a choice, that I had to do this, and you know, I'm kind of scary because I really feel like I don't know what's going on fully. That nobody's really said anything.
Where is Stratford Inn?
Where is Stratford Inn? Fenton,
Missouri.
Fenton, Missouri.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question. Are you based in Rolla?
No, I'm not.
So is the
The
organization?
organization that I'm working with, she's.
That's what I mean. The organization.
Yes.
So are you working with a local organization here?
Yes, I'm working with Reina, the lady that's.
What organization is she? I thought she was with Rolla as well.
That's exactly.
So is there a local? You said that you.
She's working here in St. Louis also.
So she
St. Louis
just.
County, and also Fenton.
Okay. Okay.
She's doing a collaboration with St. Louis County.
Oh, with St. Louis County. Okay.
And we work with the Ferguson, Tennessee.
Okay. Well, if we can talk to you afterwards, if you want to stay, that'll help.
Right. Thank you.
If you're able to stay, if not, then you could talk to my assistant over there. If you're not able to stay till it's over.
I will.
And just so you know, I am working on legislation. I'm working with the TEH, the group that has those apartments in Ferguson. That was the problem the past couple of months. I'm meeting with them next week and looking into writing legislation, although it would only impact the unincorporated areas. So then we have to try to get the municipalities to go along as well with legislation that protects the tenants.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys for your help.
All right, thank you.
Yes. The social worker that approached this woman, is she a county employee or state employee?
Just a volunteer. Say that one is.
She said state.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
She believes it's the state.
Okay.
State employee.
Thank you.
I do know that the state should be working on legislation for landlord tenant issues. That's a good place for you to lobby as well.
Okay. Songbird, thank you for the advice. We got that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Brian Roush, followed by Brandon, and I think the first letter of the last name is a C.
Good evening, Brian Roush, 6606 Higgy Road. I'm talking about the issue with Tower T and the rezoning. I think the main thing I'm here for is against the houses. The first point is that with all these nearly 160 houses, there's going to be 160 at least more cars, which is going to add more traffic to an already congested Higgy Road. And if we can assume that there's 2 to 3 cars per house, there's going to be, on the higher end, around 480 cars added to that street, if not more. Also, with the construction of the houses and the construction vehicles that are going to be on the road, the Higgy is a very old road and will probably need to be fixed, and that could cost a lot of money. The only other green space in the area is Blackburn Park, which is 2 miles northwest. All the other green spaces to the east and the south are all cemeteries, and they can't really be used for public recreation. And another piece is that people are sadly leaving Afton, which means more houses are for sale. And as of right now, the median household value of Afton, according to Zillow, is $155,000. And the average prices of these houses will be $250,000 on the lower end and $350,000 on the higher end. And that just won't make sense if people are leaving the area for leaving probably cheaper houses. Who's going to buy those houses? They're just going to be sitting there wasting space. There's also dangers presented to the property, the possible flooding, the blasting of the railroad trestle, and icicles falling from the radio tower, and that can greatly depreciate the property value there. And also the St. Louis County has recently sold land to Jefferson Barracks for $2.5 million, and Tower T was bought at $4.7 million roughly. And given this recent sale, the county and donators could work back the money to be able to buy Tower T back from the landowners. So if you have any questions, that would be.
Brian, I just want to commend you. How old are you, Brian?
17, sir.
I want to commend you for coming tonight, speaking your truth to the legislative body, and I would encourage you to keep doing it for the rest of your life. This is how we keep the republic, so don't stop. I can't promise you what the outcome will be, but I can promise you your voice was heard.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brandon, followed by Matt Casilius. Mr. Chair, could we ask the speaker to spell his last name?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Brandon Costerison, Costerison. I apologize in advance for that last name. I'm with the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. Last week, our executive director, Ms. Nicole Dalsey, came and spoke with you. Unfortunately, she's unable to join us again this evening. Yesterday, we sent you some more information as requested about juuling, vaping, and nicotine use among youth in St. Louis County and some strategies to address that use. Unfortunately, Bill 270, as currently written, is not an evidence-based strategy to address that use. Punishing youth possession disproportionately affects communities that are already experiencing disparities and does not deter use. Included in that list that we sent you, there are prevention strategies. There's interventions before children become addicted to nicotine. There are nicotine cessation programs that are effective. And there are ways to hold those who are marketing to youth and ways to hold those who are selling to youth accountable by increased compliance checks, by increasing taxes on tobacco and nicotine, which in St. Louis County hasn't been raised since 1985. There are other far more effective strategies aside from just penalizing youth for possession. So we stand opposed to Bill 270 as it currently stands.
So Brandon, seems like what's happening in St. Louis County is kids are buying these on the internet and they're having them mailed to their house and redistributing them at school. Do you have a strategy to stop the sale of juuling and other e-cigs over the internet to minors?
So that's not what we're hearing. Most of what we're hearing is that most of the jewels that are making their way into schools are being stolen from parents and then sold amongst kids, or kids are going into other areas. But even so, there's not a good way to, unless there's a federal ban on the internet sale of jewels or other nicotine delivery systems, there's not really a good way to address that. But we think that putting into county ordinance something that is really best handled by school policy would be heading in the wrong direction. When we're talking about children or students possessing something at school, that's something that a school disciplinary policy, a school drug policy would be best equipped to handle, not involving county government, county courts, or other law enforcement organizations.
Okay, I think we'll probably continue to talk about this issue.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understand you. You're not denying that a problem exists with respect to the possession of these devices on school property?
Absolutely. We know that they exist in schools. We know that young people use them, and we think that that's a terrible thing. It's a question of whose role it is to address it, and we think involving the criminal justice system, courts, lawyers, is the wrong way to address it, and it's not an evidence-based strategy to address it.
Speaking about evidence-based data, do you have any data that you can share with us with respect to the enforcement of school district regulations and policies concerning these devices?
I don't have anything with me, but we can get that for you.
And you agree with me that, at least I'm inferring from your statement, that policies and regulations already exist that address this problem, right?
Yes, we know that school policies do exist.
Right. And so if they exist and the problem exists simultaneously, a reasonable conclusion could be that the policies are not being enforced. Would you agree?
The policies may not, I don't know if I could say that the policies aren't being enforced. What I would say is that the policies are not as effective as they could be, and maybe the policies that exist would not be as strong as they could be. But we also know that there's laws against selling to minors, and we know that there's already other laws against minors possessing various other things, but that doesn't prevent them from having those things either.
Well, we'll look forward to receiving your data on the school district regulatory situation.
Yes, Thank you.
Thanks.
Final speaker this evening is Mac Basilius.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, good evening. I'm Mac Basilius, I'm the business manager of the St. Louis County Police Association. We represent over 900 police officers, sergeants, and civilians in the police department. I'm here to speak about the proposed cuts to the police officers in the budget bill. These 50 positions that are being cut basically equal how many more officers that are needed to fulfill one of the main components of Prop P, and that's 2 officer cars. This is very important to our organization's members because it involves officer safety. This is also very important to the taxpaying public because it involves their safety. To the casual observer, this would appear to be supplanting, which was the #1 criticism of the Prop P tax increase. In less than a year, you are engaging in the precise conduct that many feared would happen with the Prop P funds. Dr. Page, about a month ago, you flat out told me you were going to, quote, use Prop P funds to shore up the budget. This is an inappropriate use of Prop P funds and not the will of the voters. After speaking privately with a few of you today, there's apparently a misunderstanding here. I believe that these bills were not drafted in secrecy and were released to the public in a timely legal manner. These misunderstandings could have been eliminated. It's unfortunate that these bills are set for perfection with no public input whatsoever. I would ask you to reconsider this cut to the police budget. I understand that something must be perfected this evening in order to be passed next week, but this is not the bill that has the best interests of your constituents in mind. Please leave the officer positions funded so that you may fulfill your promise to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Matt, I will
Yes,
have to correct your impression of our conversation, although I understand how it could have been obtained. But our conversation was about how the Prop P funds are part of general revenue and are being used to balance general revenue funds. It's not the council's position to use Prop P funds to shore up the budget, but that's how they've been applied. They're not segregated from the general fund. They're part of the general fund. They pour directly into it.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I want you to explain to me the basis on which you claim that these bills were drafted in secret. On what basis are you making that claim?
I just got word of it today about, I don't know, it hit the newspaper first, so the Post-Dispatch got an advance copy, and then we had to request a copy right before the meeting to actually get the bills. So I don't know, I mean, I know there's sunshine laws that I'm pretty sure that requires 24 hours of notice.
As you sit here today, are you claiming that these bills were not available 24 hours ago?
Yeah, as far as I know, they were not, no.
And that's based on what?
Based on many people I've talked to try to get their hands on them, and were not available to them.
Well, I would beg to differ. These bills were available certainly by late yesterday. So no one got secret versions of it. No one got special treatment in terms of distribution. So with all due respect, sir, I take umbrage with your statement that they were drafted in secret and somehow not released in a timely manner.
Is there going to be public input on these bills or no?
There's a week between now and when they passed.
I think what you'll find, Matt, is that these bills represent a month of public discussion since we were presented with the county executive's recommended budget in the beginning of November. And we've had extensive hearings, several hours of hearings, and this represents a consistent opinion that's really consistent with the dialogue that's taken place over the last month. And I would just recommend that if you haven't yet, subscribe to the county council's email notification service, and then you'll be able to get all the versions of everything as it's distributed to everyone else.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Also, just for the record, I didn't receive it either, saw it online. In my office, got it at 8:30 this morning, so that's the first time we were notified of any changes to the budget. So just put that out there.
No, the public needs to know that. I mean, if a member of the council doesn't get them within 24 hours, then that's even bigger concern.
Right.
Well, those bills were distributed by email at 4 o'clock yesterday, and they were in your email, in your mailbox as well. I'm sorry you didn't see them in your email, but I don't know what we can do about that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think anybody that wants to follow the county council action should subscribe on our website to our email list serve, and then you'll have the notifications as soon as everyone else has them. It's a pretty long list. We have quite a few people that follow our activities. You had a comment?
Yes, I just want, and I know you reached out, Matt, to talk about this issue, and I appreciate that. I always am open to discussion, and I hope that that will ensue over the next week. I do want to point out, though, that the number of open positions in the police department is well over 100, and we are funding 51 positions. And if you need more, please come back. Please come back.
Yeah, that's as far as the misunderstanding goes. I think that's where there is the misunderstanding. As far as has been told to me, and members of the command staff and the police department can probably elaborate on this. But from what I understand, that there was either a miscommunication or a misunderstanding in one of the budget hearings that came up with this number of 101. That's just not true, and that's why I think that if there was more time, the council could investigate that and get those answers for those specific numbers, because that's, something was missed there. It's just not the case. And I would encourage everyone to, reach out to the chief and the commanders of the police department in order to get those exact numbers.
Well, actually, the open positions are much more than 101, but the county council
Not in the police department.
The county council hearings on the police budget are recorded, and we could certainly make that available to you if you'd like to listen to it.
I asked for it, yeah, of course, I didn't get it.
We'll get that
today because it was busy, but yeah,
Sure. Well,
it's
we
been
can
requested.
certainly make the hearings of the police budget available. We do have a recording of that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're way over time, but, I don't want to get lost in the weeds here between, sunshine laws and everything else. My point here is that these positions are what the public is expecting you guys to fund, because these are the 2 officer cars that we need for our safety and the public needs for their safety.
So how many openings are there?
You would have to ask the chief exactly, but I think there's like 50 to 51 openings right now. There's an academy class going in January with about 30 people in it, so that eats up some of those 50. And then between April and June, they put another academy class in that's going to eat up the rest of those 50. So if these positions aren't funded in the budget, they're either going to have to take offers back from people who are expecting to go into the academy in January, or just stop hiring. It's effectively a hiring freeze. And with Prop P bringing in $6 million more than was expected, I don't understand why the council would have to put a hiring freeze on the police department and fulfill these promises made to the public.
But we have funded for some officers to be hired.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
There's been some. They were all funded last year, and the nature of the hiring process, because of how long it takes, there was no way to get all of those funded, and all those people hired in the first year between retirements and terminations and normal attrition.
We
So
allocated money to hire in next year as well. We haven't just cut out the fact that you can hire more officers. We just cut the number down.
So I think what we've heard is that in July, if there's not any attrition in the police department and you don't have any more openings in July, you might not be able to accept everyone who graduates, if that's what you're saying. And I think if we get into the first of the year and it looks like we don't have enough positions to accommodate the graduates, I think this council would be very quick to make a supplemental appropriation to open up more positions in the police department.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what we're doing also is predicting the normal attrition that we've seen, and I suspect that in our budget hearing when this was communicated to us, that attrition was part of the formula.
I understand that, and if you guys want specific numbers, I absolutely encourage you to speak with the chief. I'm not the expert on those. I'm the expert on making sure my members and the officers are safe, and that's all I care about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. This concludes the public forum. Please proceed with introduction and vote.
Bill number 327, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance amending Title 11 St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974's amended Public Works and Building Regulations by enacting and adding a new chapter to be known as 1106, Small Wireless Facility Deployment, pertaining to deployment of small wireless facilities. Bill number 328, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Jackson and Coker Locum Tenens LLC for corrections, medicine, psychiatry services. Bill number 329, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray, an ordinance amending ordinance number 27,227 by repealing and reenacting Section 1 pertaining to a lease agreement with Shops at Coke Park LLC for 2,650 square feet of space in the Shops at Coke Park Shopping Center for use by the Department of Public Health. Bill number 330, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving acceptance of donation of $4,967.07 from Mid-America Transplant Foundation, appropriating same for expansion of office space in the medical examiner's office. Bill number 331, introduced by Councilmember Erby, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with DECA Corporation for replacement of rooftop units at the Gantner Morgue Facility, 18-03-OC. Bill number 332, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with Shea Roofing Incorporated for repairs to the roof of the Department of Transportation and Public Works Maintenance District Number 2 building. Bill number 333, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a loan agreement between the county and PNC Bank National Association, authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of a promissory note to PNC Bank National Association payable from special assessments levied in the Glen Cullen Subdivision Neighborhood Improvement District as contemplated, prescribing the form and details of said note, providing for the levy and collection of annual assessments for the purpose of paying the principal of and interest on said note as they become due, and authorizing certain other documents and actions in connection therewith. Bill number 334, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance submitting to the qualified voters of St. Louis County, Missouri at the election on the second day of April 2019, a proposition to amend the St. Louis County Charter by amending Section 5.020 pertaining to the office of the County Councilor. Bill number 335, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray, an ordinance authorizing transition activities by incumbent elected officers and their successors. Mr. Chair, that is all the bills.
Perfection.
Bill number 191, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
They trying to drop one, make sure. Yes, please drop from the order.
Bill number 191 is dropped.
Bill number 202, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Please hold on the order of business, and 202 will be held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 208, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 208 will be held.
Bill number 256, introduced by Councilmember Page.
We can hold Bill number 256, and 256 will be held.
Bill number 258, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold.
Bill number 258 will be held.
Bill number 270, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger for Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold Bill number 270.
Bill number 270 is held.
Bill number 295, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295, introduced by Councilmembers Page, Walton Gray, and Tracus. An ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the general fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the general fund the sum of $302,082,789 to be placed to the credit of the respective departments, offices, boards, commissions, agencies, and funds of the St. Louis County government as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019 as amended by this ordinance.
Move adoption of substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295.
Second.
All in favor of adoption of substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295 is adopted. Say anything?
I'd like to make a statement. While I'm aware of the time and the hard work that this council devoted to balancing this budget, and I support the efforts, I am not prepared to vote in favor of this budget until I see a pay increase for our employees. They have worked for 10 years without a raise. That's unacceptable. When our employees witness employees, political allies, come through the door making more than they do, they are even called to train these employees and watch them get raises, all the while they are hearing that there's a pay freeze or a hiring freeze. It's unacceptable, and I will not vote for any of the budget until I see a pay increase. With that, I abstain.
Thank you. I recognize that we all are disappointed that we haven't been able to find the money in the budget yet for increases, but we are working on it diligently, and we do share your very serious concerns. I move for perfection of substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 295 is perfected.
Bill number 296, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 296, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray. An ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Special Road and Bridge Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund the sum of $54,488,174 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Transportation as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019 as amended by this ordinance.
Move for adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 296.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 296 is adopted. I move for perfection of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 296.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
I got a question. I'm just noticing something. I don't know if it's a typo, but the sub-bill, does the sub-bill reflect the new numbers? Not this number that's in the first bill, correct?
Sub-bill, yeah, do you have a copy of the substitute?
It does. Okay,
I can share mine if you would like to see it.
that's fine. No, I just, okay, never mind. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate your question. I appreciate you watching the details. I move for adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 296. I move for perfection of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 296.
You did that as well.
We've done them both. Then we'll go back to the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Bill number
Straighten that out.
Bill number 297, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 297, introduced by Councilmembers Page and Walton Gray. An ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Health Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Health Fund the sum of $52,128,898 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Public Health as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019 as amended by this ordinance.
Move for adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 297.
Second.
All in favor of adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 297, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 297 is adopted. Move for perfection of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 297.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 297 is perfected.
Bill number 298, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 298, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray. An ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Park Maintenance Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Park Maintenance Fund the sum of $30,328,154 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Parks and Recreation as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019 as amended by this ordinance.
I'll move for the adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 298.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 298 is adopted. Move for perfection of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 298.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 298 is perfected.
Bill number 299, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 299.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 299 is perfected.
Bill number 300, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for perfection of bill number 300.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 290, bill number 300 is perfected.
Bill number 301, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for perfection of bill number 301.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 301 is perfected.
Bill number 302, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for perfection of bill number 302.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 302 is perfected.
Bill number 303, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for perfection of bill number 303.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 303 is perfected.
Bill number 304, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for perfection of bill number 304.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 304 is
Bill number 305, introduced by Councilmember Page.
move for perfection of bill number 305.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 305 is perfected.
Bill number 306, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 306.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 306 is perfected.
Bill number 307, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 307.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 307 is perfected.
Bill number 308, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 308.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 308 is perfected.
Bill number 309, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 309.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 309 is perfected.
Bill number 310, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 310.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 310 is perfected.
Bill number 311, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 311.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 311 is perfected.
Bill number 312, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 312.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 312 is perfected.
Bill number 313, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 313.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 313 is perfected.
Bill number 314, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 314.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 314 is perfected.
Bill number 315, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 315.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Bill number 315 is perfected.
Bill number 316, introduced by Councilmember Page.
This appropriation is usually done as a supplemental in April. So I'll move to drop this bill and consider it again in April. And unless there's opposition, we will drop bill number 316. Okay, 316 is dropped.
Bill number 317, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Please read the substitute.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 317, introduced by Councilmember Page. An ordinance approving and adopting the Highway Capital Construction Program budget for fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $38,768,800, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Transportation Highway Fund the sum of $13,920,300, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Federal Aid Urban Trust Fund the sum of $24,846,500 for support of the 2019 capital construction programs, borrowing use of such appropriated funds for certain projects, and transferring the amount of $3,500,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Federal Aid Urban Trust Fund to the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund. Mr. Chair, I just would like to point out to the council members that on page 2 of the bill, there are 2 section 4s. Those sections have been properly renumbered on the official version of the bill.
Okay, we'll take that as editorial change. Does everybody see that on the substitute, page 2? The renumbering of section 4 and section 5.
There's now 4, 5, 6.
It'll now read 4, 5, 6. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, move for adoption of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 317.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 317 is adopted. Move for perfection of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 317.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 317 is perfected.
Bill number 318, introduced by Councilmember Page.
This bill sets the real estate tax rates for 2019. I move to perfect bill number 318.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bill number 318 is perfected.
Bill number 324, introduced by Councilmember Page.
I move to perfect bill number 324.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 324 is perfected.
Bill number 325, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger.
I move to perfect bill number 325.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 325 is perfected.
Bill number 326, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect bill number 326, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 326 is perfected. Final passage.
Bill number 353, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold 353, and 353 will be held.
Bill number 271, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold bill number 271, and 271 will be held.
Bill number 319, introduced by Councilmember Page.
I'll move for a final passage of bill number 319.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 319, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 319 is finally passed.
Bill number 320, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for a final passage of bill number 320.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 320, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 320 is finally passed.
Bill number 321, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 320.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, that was 321.
321, thank you.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 321, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 321 is finally passed.
Bill no-
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little confused on Bill 321, why we are now passing this ordinance for a summer jobs program, and it's December.
Well, we've seen a few of these grant programs come in after the season, and we've asked this question a couple of times in the past. I think that the explanation that I've received is that this is a refunding of a program that's been executed. But if you would like to follow up on that and see if you get a different answer, I think that would be a fine idea.
That's fine, thank you.
Bill number 322, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 322.
Second.
Councilmember Erby?
Roll call.
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 322, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 322 is finally passed.
Bill number 323, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 323.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 323, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 323 is finally passed.
Moving on to resolutions, we have two this evening, Mr. Chair. Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger.
I move to adopt resolution number 1.
Second.
Before we vote, Mr. Chair, if I had a minute, I just want to congratulate Councilman Wassinger and vicariously through her son Andrew, who this resolution pertains to, on his achievement of Eagle Scout. I just can't let it go that this go unread. I understand Councilman Wassinger's humility, but I can tell you from personal experience that the award of Eagle Scout embellishes on the individual who achieves it character traits and discipline that last a lifetime. And it's not an easy accomplishment. So I congratulate Andrew Wassinger and I congratulate his parents on making sure that he attained this very prestigious rank of Eagle Scout. Thank you.
Would you like me to read the resolution?
Yes.
Whereas Andrew Wassinger, 15, is an honor student and a member of Boy Scout Troop 624 at St. Clement of Rome Parish in De Pere, Missouri. And whereas scouting has given Andrew the opportunity to learn a variety of skills which have helped him to grow and mature into a fine young man and citizen. And whereas Andrew recently attained the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Andrew's Eagle Scout project was to organize and lead a group of Boy Scouts in designing, planning, and building 3 benches for Drace Park located in Town and Country, Missouri. And whereas one of the benches was placed on the front porch of the historic oak log cabin, which was built in the mid-1880s, was a small pioneer outpost for German settlers that farmed the land, and was set for destruction until the City of Town and Country's Historical Society saved the cabin and moved it to Drace Park. And whereas the location for this bench was chosen because the city wanted to add a bench so that visitors to the historic cabin had a place to sit and enjoy the cabin and park, and the other 2 benches were placed in the Nature Explorer outdoor classroom recreation area for use by children and adults during outdoor classes and for other users of the park. And whereas when a young person has been so dedicated to a goal that he has achieved a rank earned by so few Boy Scouts, it is appropriate that the people of St. Louis County take note. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the County Council congratulates Andrew, his family, his troop leaders, and his fellow Scouts on the occasion of his achievement of the rank of Eagle Scout.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Harder.
I too would like to comment on that as well. My son's an Eagle Scout, and a lot of the work should be done by the Scout, but also the parents are involved in this. And when I see that Andrew's only 15, my son was 24 hours from being 18 when he got his, and it's a tough slug when you get the parents involved in trying to get him to that deadline. So congratulate him for getting it done so soon, and I'm sure the parents were heavily involved at some point in this project. So congratulations to them as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're very proud of Andrew and his work, so thanks.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
It's hard for me to believe that Andrew was 15, because he was, what, 3?
He's permit now, 2. Look out.
Right. Congratulations. Thank you. Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Well, we have 2 Eagle Scouts at our house and 1 more in the pipeline, and ours weren't nearly as organized as the Wassinger plan. They were finishing out in a month before their 18th birthday, so I understand how moms participate in that success. So I vote aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
I'd just like to say congratulations, and I vote aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
I agree with everything that's been said, and it's one of the privileges I've had in this office of being invited to attend and hand out resolutions for Eagle Scouts, the 5th District. But so I'm very well aware of what it took them to get to that point and what their parents went through. So as Ernie and everybody had said, it's quite an accomplishment, and you should be very proud, and I'm sure you are. So congratulations to you and David and to Andrew.
Thank you.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on resolution number 1, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Resolution number 2, introduced by council members Harder, Page, Wassinger, Walton Gray, and Tracus.
Please read.
Resolution, whereas the St. Louis County Council is the appropriating authority of the county pursuant to Section 2.180.2 of the Charter, and whereas the council has reviewed the county executive's proposed 2019 budget and finds the proposal far exceeds projected revenue and therefore does not represent prudent fiscal management, and whereas the county executive's proposed 2019 appropriations are again balanced on the back of continued depletion of necessary reserve funds, bringing our general reserves to an unacceptably low level. And whereas while recognizing the spending patterns over the last 10 years, the council last year called attention to this ongoing structural deficit. And whereas the county executive's statements regarding the budget have misled the press and therefore the citizens as to the dire situation facing the county. And whereas the council has methodically taken action over the last year through ordinances, voter-approved charter amendments, and even court challenges to assert its independent budget responsibility to the citizens of the county. And whereas best practices mandate a minimum of 10% of the general fund operating budget be on hand in the general fund reserve account, yet the county executive's proposed 2019 budget will leave the general fund reserve account with only a 5% reserve. And whereas the county executive has not offered any plan to fix the budget problem other than to deplete reserves to a dangerously low level. And whereas the council must cut spending not only to balance the structural deficit proposed by the county executive, but it must also set aside monies to build up the reserve fund, which is a key metric for the county's financial health. And whereas despite requests from the council, the county executive and the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership have delayed in selling over $40 million in vacant and unused properties. And whereas the council is aware of the wretched state of morale of county employees and the lack of merit-based pay increases to reward our quality employees, and throughout 2019 will focus on these disparities. And whereas in the interim, the council is considering a uniform adjustment to employee salaries for employees who did not receive an increase in compensation in 2017 and or 2018 until a more appropriate long-term solution is identified and agreed upon. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1. The County Council shall A, request a comprehensive pay study to evaluate current market conditions and, in the interim, will consider a pay increase as outlined above herein until a more appropriate solution is identified and agreed upon. B, make significant reductions to the operating budget of the general fund in order to prevent the catastrophic cuts that would be forced upon the county next year under the proposed 2019 budget offered by the county executive. C, amend the proposed budgets for the general fund, health fund, and the special road and bridge fund by reducing each by a minimum of 5%. And D, review funding for the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership quarterly and will appropriate necessary and justified funds on that basis through supplemental appropriations. E, hold budget-related hearings beginning in January 2019 to establish prudent fiscal changes to ensure a sound financial future for St. Louis County. F, recommend the aforementioned vacant and unused properties be sold and will by ordinance require the sale proceeds be placed into a designated fund to be used for the automation and technology needed to develop a truly 21st century county government that is transparent, fiscally sound, and provides improved customer service for the residents of St. Louis County. And G, encourage budget unit directors to come to the council in circumstances that may require justified supplemental appropriations during the fiscal 2019 budget year. Section 2, the administrative director shall send certified copies of this resolution to the county executive, the county budget director, and the directors of each budget unit within St. Louis County government.
I'd like to have my name added as well.
Mr. Chair, we will add Councilwoman Irby as a sponsor to the resolution.
Thank you. I'd just like to comment on this. This is probably our most important resolution of the year. And since we've had so many different meetings on this budget and have tried to get our arms around this, unfortunately, this type of resolution is necessary. It's also necessary to get the proper word out to our county employees and the public at large of what's been going on and what's been happening to this side. And it gives a little bit our side of the story and how we've tried to address these deficits going forward. And it can't stand. And if we don't do it now, probably most of this room won't be here next year because we are at that point. So we've been cautioned about this for years, and we've kicked this can, as I've talked before, and now we're out of road. And so unfortunately, we have to go to this means to get our word out so that the media, as well as everybody, understands the position we're in and the dire straits in some cases we are. And we're going to work through it. And 2019 is the year of the budget. And we will be working, we won't wait until November to look at this thing. This will be we've said among ourselves that this would be a monthly, is sometimes weekly issue that we will be looking at. And every department will be scrutinized throughout the year and not wait until November. Because we just can't do this. And hopefully we can get some pay raises once we get our fiscal health in order and try to get that whole situation and the merit pay as well as the merit system reorganized and cleaned up and in good shape and fair. And that's going to take a good part of the year, if not the whole year, to do. This didn't happen overnight, and we're not going to solve this problem overnight. So that's my comment for this resolution. I hope everybody's in concurrence with that. Move to approve. Before we go ahead. Yes.
I want to thank Councilman Harder for his comments. I agree with him wholeheartedly, and I want to reiterate to the employees left in the room, this resolution should make clear to you that this body takes the question of your compensation seriously. And we intend to take a long, hard look at how to address the problem. But we would be remiss if we didn't undertake the pay study called for by this resolution and come to a solution that is workable and fiscally sound. That's what this body intends to do over the course of the next several months. We ask for your patience as we do that, but it would do us no good to give you raises now if, in fact, 6 months from now, we were out of money. So I can say with confidence that every member on this body is committed to trying to find a way to increase your compensation, but it has to be done in a sound, fiscally responsible way. We're going to do that. As Councilman Harder said, we're going to start next month, and if it has to be a hearing every week, that's what it'll be. But the job will get done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, I just want to say I think that's the importance of our supplemental and the substitute bills that we had. We made several adjustments to the budget to try to curb spending. So I think that we should have support for at least for those sub bills. As previously stated, we are very much in support of raises. I know I am. I'm not sure how to get those raises, but I think those substitute bills are a start. And if anyone has any suggestions, again, we would be willing to hear those suggestions. And if anyone on the council can help, submit anything or help us with that as well, we will of course appreciate it.
I move for adoption of resolution number 2.
Second.
Excuse me.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Before I vote, I'd just like to say that I think this resolution is more than appropriate after all we've experienced with trying to balance this budget. One of the worst comments I ever heard was in the budget hearing when one of the council members asked the 2 people representing the county executive or the administration about their efforts to balance the budget, or had they spoken with the county executive regarding the budget, and they said no. There was no dialogue. Remember that? I can't remember the exact words, but they said there was no dialogue with the county executive regarding balancing the budget for 2019. Then they were asked, well, when do you plan to do that? And they said next year. This time next year. That's horrible. So we have no choice but to do what's been done here tonight. And again, I support the council for the cuts that they've made, I understand, but I still have a problem with moving forward without the employees having some hopes of getting a raise. It's difficult for me to do that when I know that there are people working in this government making six figures and I mean plenty of people, not just 2 or 3 or 4, that are making that kind of money when we have employees who are barely making, some are not making minimum wage. It's not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. But with that, I do support this resolution, and I support my colleagues. So with that, I vote aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan?
No, and I certainly hope that money can be found for raises. I'm in favor of everybody getting a raise, but you have to do it within the constraints of the budget, and hopefully whoever can find a magic way to get the money to have raises, I hope it happens, because I believe that everybody here in the county deserves them. Hopefully somebody will find the money. But I vote no on the resolution. That's the biggest campaign joke I've heard.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on resolution number 2, there are 6 ayes and 1 no.
Resolution number 2 is adopted.
Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Chair, item number 1, 3rd District.
I am going to drop this from the order of business. There is, the City of Town and Country has undertaken a professional study of that intersection. So, in light of the new incoming councilman, Tim Fitch, I think I will clear that off the deck and that he can bring it up after the study is complete.
So ordered.
Item number 2, 1st District.
Please drop from the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 3, 5th District.
I believe was recommended by the committee. Receive, file, and the appointment be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments approved.
Item number 4, 1st District.
Please drop.
So ordered.
Item number 5, 4th District.
I believe I should drop this as Councilman Page has filed a similar legislation, so I think I should drop this one.
So ordered.
And moving on to new business, Mr. Chair, we have 2 prepared orders this evening.
I move for adoption of order number 1.
Second.
All in favor of adoption order number 1?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Order number 1 is adopted.
I move for adoption of order number 2. Order number 2 is addressing the fact that the council meeting next week will be at 3 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor of adoption order number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Order number 2 is adopted. All right. Any other comments by council members?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.